It's important for us to reconsider some of our basic assumptions about the origins of domestication and farming. In fact, some of my colleagues, Boyd Richardson, Robert Bettinger, and others have argued that there are actually, in 1500 or so, about 1/5 of people in the world were not farmers, but were hunter-gatherers. And it's not because they were backwards, or in many cases it's not because their environment made it impossible to farm or keep herds, but rather they may have made deliberate choices along the way to not follow certain paths that would lead into intensification of gathering or handling animals that would lead to farming and herding. And the other part of it that I think we have to really think about is how we focus on this either or. Either they're farmers and herders or they're hunter-gatherers. So if we look at ethnographies from the 19th and 20th century, the situation is nowhere near as simple. My archaeological colleague and archaeobotanist Bruce Smith has argued that there's a vast middle ground in which many people who either have a few domesticates or none, but are managing landscapes, are existing and were existing. And even people who may be classified as farmers often are interacting with the wild plants and animals in their landscapes very intensively. They may be managing the landscapes using fire, which would help promote the growth of certain species of plants and then encourage certain animals to be around. And we know, for example, in Australia, this was very common, and women had a great part in managing landscapes using fire. Also, we've established scientifically in Central California that there's good evidence for managing landscapes to be productive for things that humans want to eat using fire. Well, why should we care about domestication is because in the last 10 to 15 years we've learned so much more because of the new science of genomics that it is just an amazing new world. We've learned that people domesticated animals, the same species in different places, and we've also learned that some of our very, very unquestioned assumptions in history and archaeological narratives are actually being undermined by the genetic evidence, such as there was complete control over the species that were under domestication, rather than there was interbreeding with wild and domestic species. So especially in this age of genetic engineering, it's very, very important for us to understand the diversity and the let's see, how will we say it? The diverse origins of domestic animals and plants, where they came from, and I think it gives us a great deal of respect, not only for people in the world, but also for the plants and the animals, to see how they've changed under domestication and become more durable and hardy. For example, chickens now live here in Norway, and they're actually tropical animals. And it took thousands of generations of chickens to adapt to this kind of climate and the day length and so forth. And these stories of co-evolution are really what's exciting about exploring domestication, not some old, well, it happened way back then and that's the end of the story. It's an ongoing process. And we have to continuously ask ourselves, how is it going on today? And also, for our human values, do we like how it's going on today? Do we like how animals are being treated today? Especially with genetic engineering, is this all to our liking, or what sort of ethical standards do we believe should be applied?